Hello to the people of Bermuda. This is the Honorable Tinee Furbert, Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors. We are inviting you to join us online for Point of Order this Thursday, the 25th of January at 3 p.m. We will be discussing the National Senior Strategy, the Disability Register, the plan to end homelessness, Independent Living Center, the collaboration between Bermuda UNDP and UN Women, and the Child Daycare Allowance, to name a few. You too may be a part of the conversation via YouTube or Facebook. The show will also air on Channel 82. Looking forward to have you join us.
And good afternoon to the first episode of Point of Order. Point of Order is a new show with because two reasons. One, the people of Bermuda need to be informed. Two, there are other media that love to misrepresent what the government of Bermuda is doing for the people of Bermuda. So on this show, we will have various government ministers, MPs, and party members who will be talking about what is going on, what are they doing, what is the party, what is the government doing for the people of Bermuda. And we are honored to have our first guest, Honorable Tinee Furbert, and I'll allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you, MP Chris Famous. I want to say hello to everyone that is listening this afternoon on this beautiful sunny afternoon that we have. It has been very cold here lately, and then we have all this sunshine, but I'm very grateful. And I am the Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors. I was elected into Parliament in 2017, representing St. George's South, constituency number 4, and again elected in 2020, where I was given the portfolio of, at that time, it was social development and seniors. And as of November of 2023, we've added the portfolio of youth. Okay. So I'm very excited about that, and also still very excited to serve the people of Bermuda.
Okay, so before we go any further, Minister, could you tell us, because in order to be a minister, you have to be an MP. In order to be an MP, you have to have constituents that put their faith in you. So can you tell us a little bit about your constituency?
So I represent the constituency of St. George's South, constituency number 4. It is actually quite a bit. It is quite a big constituency, and so we have to put in a lot of work to be able to reach out to constituents. I just want to give a big shout out to my constituents because they are so good to me, as I try my best to be good to them. I think it is very important that whenever constituents reach out, that you are responsive, and I try my hardest to be responsive. Although sometimes the outcomes may not be or fall in someone's favor, I know at the end of the day that I would have reached my hand out to try to help my hardest. And so we were able to do many constituency events. We do an annual ice cream social. We do an annual You Don't Have to Cook Tonight. I also participate in our neighborhood watches, and we also have neighborhood activities. The Saturday before, we did a big cleanup in one of our neighborhoods, which we try to do every year as well. But I get the opportunity when constituents come to me with concerns to look into it and to follow through with assisting them. And I'm smiling because a constituent just called me to thank me for something that they had requested of me. And while we go out and we serve our constituents, sometimes you don't hear back from people to say whether or not everything went well. So I am grateful and thankful for when constituents do get back to me and give gratitude for things that we do, So I love my constituents. It is a mix bunch, right? So it involves Hamilton Parish and St. David's. And so, when it comes to sports stuff, sometimes I get pulled in every direction. But, I'm grateful and I'm thankful for the support of my constituency and my constituents.
Okay, thank you. So transition over to your ministerial roles.
Mhm.
Quickly, what are some of the departments that fall under your ministry?
So, some of the areas that fall under my ministry are aging and disability services, the Department of Child and Family Services, the charity commissioners, the Human Rights Commission, and MIRAS program, which we just acquired as well, and now the newly Office of Youth Affairs,
So that sounds like about eight or nine different. Um,
and the newly acquired Department of Financial Assistance.
okay. Well, I mean, you have some persons that, let's say you have the AG. The
Hmm.
AG, whoever the AG is, has to be a lawyer, so
Yes,
they know the law back to front. You have someone who is minister of finance. Theoretically, the minister of finance should know finance back to
finance.
front. All right. Then you have persons like such as Minister Jason Hayward, who's Minister of Labor. He
Hmm.
has been a labor union president. He knows labor back to front.
Yes,
So someone like you that has not only a profession of helping the people, that is your profession,
correct.
but you have a passion for helping people. This seems to be the perfect ministry for you because all the departments that you spoke about is
Hmm.
about enhancing the lives of our fellow Bermudians, those that are
Correct.
seniors, those that are young, those that who may be differently able, women, and so how do you find being a minister and handling this portfolio and some of the things that you have to handle?
I do have to agree with you, MP Famous, that I do believe that it is a perfect fit for the profession that I am in, which is a helping one. But not only that, even in my profession, I had the opportunity to assess, to look at task analysis, to look at how we problem solve and how we can best come up with a solution to try to help someone. It's one thing to be helpful, but when you include compassionate care in that aspect, I think and also knowing what or listening to what someone is really asking of you. Sometimes people will call you and they'll say, listen, I know you can't do anything. I just want you to hear me, and you have to sift through what that actually means, right? Because I'm sure throughout that discussion, you can also offer, if you're listening intently, you can offer some other sorts of assistance or strategies to be able to help a particular person. And so, I think that now comes naturally for me, to be able to listen and to see how we can make progress for someone, even if that's just empowering them or inspiring them to go after something themselves.
Okay, so just briefly, let's touch on, let's say, three or four of the
Hmm.
um, departments that fall on you. What would you like to talk about first?
So we can definitely talk about aging and disability services.
Hmm.
We've worked very hard this year. The team at Aging and Disability Services really work hard to protect our seniors and these persons who are vulnerable. And they also have responsibility. We also have responsibility for the Carter Center. This last year we launched the National Intellectual Disability Plan. If you haven't had the opportunity to view that, please take the opportunity to view that. We're trying to fill in some gaps here for persons with intellectual disabilities. We are also working on a national senior strategy, and with that senior strategy, the team that we have who's working on this, they've gone through a whole literature review, document review, stakeholder consultation with individual focus groups. And very soon, actually, you'll be hearing information about our very public consultation in regards to the National Senior Strategy. And that is really what do we want our country to look like? What do we want for our seniors in years to come? And so we'll be having facilitated discussions for our seniors to come out and partake in that. This is also very important to me that, we make sure that we are going out to our community to actually hear what their thoughts are. And so you will see a lot of that incorporated into the policies that we write, or the services that we get involved in. We also recently launched a dementia care pilot program. And this program, if someone reaches out to Aging and Disability Services, they have the opportunity to engage in an assessment and also get intervention to help their loved one or their family members cope with dementia in the home. And so, we're very excited about that. We're looking to have the launch of the national senior strategy in April of this year. Along, we're working very hard because we're also working on something else to be launched in April. But also with the Aging and Disability Services, very soon we'll also be launching a disability register app. And so we're working right now. We're trying to clean up some pieces with that app. And what that will allow persons to do, it will allow them to go on to any device to register what their disability is and some other information that will be kept confidential. This is voluntary, but it will also help us to formulate, what the needs are for our community for those persons who have disabilities. And so we're trying to make it as accessible as possible. There are so many other countries who have done something similar. And so we are actually getting assistance with this with the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and they are assisting us to help us bring this to fruition. So that is the some things that we're doing with Aging and Disability Services. But Aging and Disability Services, they act to protect the vulnerable seniors looking to move towards adults as well in our community. So if anyone is experiencing any abuse or neglect, as we age, our seniors can become more vulnerable. And so we want to make sure that there are governmental services in place where we can offer protection for someone who would not necessarily have the support to do so.
All right, thank you for that. Tell us a little bit about the UNDP for those who don't know, like myself.
So the United Nations Development Program is a program specifically for catered towards the Caribbean. So you've heard of, everyone I'm sure would have heard of the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. And actually in that picture, you'll see what those goals are. We were approached a couple of years ago to participate in a program, particularly after COVID, which was a collaboration between Bermuda and Bahamas to build back equal, looking at innovative financing as a tool to be able to help people in our community. And so what we are doing, UNDP and UN Women were partnering to make sure that vulnerable groups have access to innovative financing so that they can build businesses and have entrepreneur opportunities. And so we're still in the throes of that. We actually have recently hired a Bermudian to assist us continue to develop this program. And we're very excited about that. We've extended this until October. We're going to be still closely working with UNDP and UN Women. And so again, we just encourage our country, our community to stay tuned. If you're interested in this sort of project. So we're
Yep.
very yeah,
We have a
thankful.
we have a question that came in from
Is
Damian Charles. Is the UNDP connected
yes,
to the UN?
yes, it is.
Okay, so UNDP stands for United Nations.
Development program.
Okay, okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Mr. Charles. If anyone else wants to send in a question, please do so. The minister will be more than happy to answer. What are some of the other stuff that your minister is working on?
So I like to just speak to the Independent Living Center. The Independent Living Center was put in place for young adults who age out of the Department of Child and Family Services, who do not necessarily have family or friends that they can reunify with. It is our
Mm-hmm.
hope that every person would have some sort of person in their lives that they can unite with, but sometimes that is not the case. And so, what we were finding is that once somebody turned 18 and they put up their hand and they said, I'm out, that sometimes they didn't have a place to go to. And
Mm-hmm.
so, we developed the Independent Living Program Center that is now for persons 17 and a half up until the age of 24. There are different levels that young people have to progress with so that they are trained up in independent living skills. But they also have the opportunity to go to school or college or work while being able to have a very comfortable spot to call their own. And so, again, this is something that not many countries have. And so we're definitely grateful. And I've just heard lots of good feedback from the young people who've had the opportunity to live there and really benefit from the services that are being provided with that housing option.
And when did that option become available for our young people?
That option became available, I believe it was in March of 2023. That's when we had the official opening.
Okay. And
Hmm.
where is this located at?
It is
For
located,
the
sure.
sorry, I don't know if it's supposed to be confidential. My apologies.
Yeah, we should probably keep it confidential. I
Okay,
would
all right,
say,
no
yeah.
problem, no problem, no problem.
I won't,
What
I won't tell everybody your address. So,
what are some of the other stuff items that you're working on?
absolutely. I did also mention that, we were talking about the child daycare allowance program. And I have to, you know, speak to this. This was actually something that was spearheaded under our Prime Minister, the Honorable Jason Hayward. And so this child daycare allowance prior was for persons who had a annual household income of $55,000, um, and that is a gross income. It's not a net; it's a gross, and that you could receive, if you qualified, up to $800 per child towards child daycare. And so, I mean, this was particularly huge because the sort of outcomes that we wanted to be able to see with this is that to make sure that families, number one, didn't have to pay for that, that money could go back into their pockets for other sorts of expenses, but also to make sure that children were in nurseries or preschools, to make sure that they were developing appropriate social, emotionally, cognitively, motor skills wise, so that we're giving them the best opportunity to be successful in life. And so recently we made changes to that allowance to allow for persons who had a gross annual income up to 130,000 to be a part of that program. And of course, that is tiered depending on how much, what someone's annual income is. So, if, for instance, if someone made approximately $65,000 as a gross annual income, then their monthly child allowance now is up to $900 per child. For someone who makes approximately 97,000, that monthly child care allowance is up to 7,000 per child. And for someone who makes approximately $130,000, that monthly child care allowance is up to 500 per child. And that payment is actually paid directly to the child daycare program. And I have to also stress that this takes into consideration a household income. So if there is a mother, a father, or maybe two parents who are living together, or even a grandmother, a mother, the household income is taken into consideration in regards to what that annual household income is. And I also want to bring to light, because of course there are frameworks structured around certain programs like this. And so what we have to let our community know is that there is a in order for someone to qualify, they have to be the parent or the guardian of the child. They have to reside with and have care and control of the child. Um, and they also have to have Bermuda status, right? So you obviously have to submit documentation to prove what your gross annual income is, as well as the child having Bermuda status. There is also a carve out in this act for the eligibility of the child, because a child must be under 4 years of age, or if they are four, because the intent is to, we all know that government has government preschools, which is you don't have to pay any additional money for those programs. So our hope is that when children turn four, or they are four, that they will use our government preschools where they don't have to pay anything additional for that. And so if the child is 4 years of age or older and has not commenced public or private preschool, then they will look at allowing children to participate. But the only carve out to that as well is that you have to present a letter from the Ministry of Education to say that there are no spots available in government preschool, which is for 4-year-olds. And if they're part of the Head Start program, that would be for 3-year-olds. So those are some key things that our community needs to recognize, so that we're not sort of double dipping into government programs.
Okay. And the thing is, one of the and I could be wrong. One of
Mm-hmm.
the motives for doing this is that, like Bermuda, like any other developing country, has rising cost of living
Yes.
and a lowered birth rate. And the government is taking a stance that we wish to encourage Bermudians to have more children, and we will do our part to assist you, if even if that means we're going to pay for your children's nursery school.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm putting it in
Yeah,
very
absolutely. The
layman
other thing
terms.
that it allows parents to go to work, right? So
Mhm.
if you don't, if you're staying home taking care of your child, um, and then there is a program that allows for payment of daycare, then you can go back to work to be able to economically make money, but not have to, pay fully for childcare.
Good. Thank you. So what's one other thing before we start wrapping up in the next 2 minutes?
I just want to speak to the child daycare as well. So you know that we would have capped the amount to 130,000. So we've increased that from 55 to 130. So obviously, we can't just open it up. We want to make sure that persons who actually need this support is getting the support. So for
Mhm.
those people who make more money than that, I know that, times can be challenging financially for many people. We want to make sure that we are providing for those annual incomes that, definitely need it the most.
Okay. Any other departments you want to touch on? Remind you, this is just the first of many interviews, so we don't. We know you have a
I would
basket
say it
full.
is, yeah, it is a lot going on. And I just left our first ever national mini youth conference, really just feeling so filled with the experience that our young people had today. Where they had the opportunity to be in a safe space and to recognize how young people's lives are,
Mhm.
just absolutely different from one another, and I'm sure they came in with different perceptions, and today they will leave with another perception. And it was just very touching and moving to be in that atmosphere with our young people today.
Okay. We have a quick question that came in. It's not related to your ministry, but I would like to answer it.
Hmm.
The labor laws for Bermuda, do Bermudians get protected in the workplace? How many expats are employed? How many Bermudians are unemployed? Um, the last set of figures showed that there of the 32,000 persons who are employed in Bermuda, working age, only 8,000 are non-Bermudians. So basically 75% of our workforce is Bermudian. I think that question may have come in from somewhere outside of Bermuda. I don't know where. But
Hmm.
I just want to thank the person for that question. And that's another topic that we'll get into, because all of this is all correlated, because I mean it's all related, because if Bermudians are unemployed in our country, then it's a problem, right?
Yeah,
If we allow non-Bermudians to be the majority in our workforce, then it's going to be a problem.
there
But
is a
we'll
problem.
touch on that another time, because that's a whole another can of worms. As we close up, Minister, I want to thank you for taking this time out. You want to give a shout out to anyone?
Absolutely, I do. I want to give a shout out to my team within the Ministry of Youth Social Development and Seniors, who work so very diligently in helping us to progress policy, legislation, and programs and services. I'm really so very grateful for them. And also big shout out, yeah, to all the teams that I mentioned before, the teams that work in the Department of Child and Family Services, Aging and Disability Services, Human Rights Commission, all of our charity commissioners, the Office of Youth Affairs, as well as the Department of Child and Family Services. Another shout out to my constituents who famous, when I ask for things, they do not hesitate and they come to the table. So a big shout out to them. I'm so very grateful, for the opportunity to develop relationships with my constituents, as well as my branch members and my executive who also help me dearly. I'm very grateful for the work that they provide, they assist me with, and of course my family, right?
Hmm.
I sacrifice a lot, to try to be as productive as I can. And I have to give a big shout out to my family and my friends who coach me along the way, who lend the ear to talk to when I need to, and who who understand when I can't be somewhere to support the people of our country. That I have to try to make it up some other way with my family, and so I love them dearly, and I just want to thank them for being my biggest supporters.
Yes, it's important, because I think sometimes people think politicians just dropped out of the sky. In other words, like, we don't have a family we don't have feelings. We don't pay the same prices at marketplace as
Hmm.
everybody else. We don't
Yeah,
pay a mortgage, stuff like that. And it's important to give recognition to our families. So I want
absolutely.
to thank
I come from humble beginnings, famous. I have a huge family. We didn't have a lot growing up, but we all, at some point, I feel like we all lived with each other. My grandmother had 9 children, well, more than nine, two had passed. I remember us just all being in the homestead, and how we all
Mhm.
just came together to try to help one another. So
Yeah. So I want to thank you for being the first minister in our new series, Point of Order. We look forward to having more of your colleagues, not just ministerial colleagues, but
mhm,
also MPs, senators, members of the party, because without the members of the party, none of us will be an MP or senator or anything like that.
correct.
And I just want to shout out to all the branch chairs, all the branch members, the CC, the executive, our fellow caucus members, and yes, our cabinet. Thank you for all that you do. I know that sometimes it feels like a thankless job, but the thanks isn't. You're not going to find thanks in your work with that. Let's be frank.
Let's be frank.
The thanks is when we see persons developing themselves, whether they are youths in the independent living centers or the projects that you all have coming up for our seniors. So I
Yes.
wanna I wanna thank you, Minister, because like I said, you do this not only from your brain because you know this,
Hmm.
but most importantly from your heart. So thank you.
Thank
And
you. Thank you for this forum. Thank you for
our
this.
next, I shouldn't say our next guest, but we have an upcoming guest, another one of our colleagues, Minister Owen K. Darrow, Minister of Tourism, Sports, and Culture. I don't have a date as yet, but he will be in one of our shows coming up, and he'll be speaking to his wide range of ministers as well. So look forward to more informative of the let me use a nice word. Less of the propaganda. Let me put it that way.
Thank you. It's a
Have a
pleasure
great evening.
being with you this
Have a
afternoon.
great have a great evening. And what do we say? PLP
PLP all the way,
all the
all the
way.
way. PLP.
Thank you.